Greetings loyal subscribers and honoured guests. Welcome to the first episode of my new series, Monkey Island Mondays. There will be 5 episodes in total, one for each of the first 4 games, and then a 5th covering the whole of the Telltale series, Tales of Monkey Island. These are some of my favourite games ever, especially the first one, so I hope you enjoy taking a nostalgic look back at them. Or perhaps you've never played them before, then hopefully my videos will convince you to give them a try. The original version of The Secret of Monkey Island was released on the Commodore Amiga and PC in 1990, with an enhanced CD-ROM version featuring much better music appearing in 1992. The project was the brainchild of Ron Gilbert, who started playing around with the story ideas in 1988. He first came up with a male and female villain who eventually became LeChuck and Elaine. There was no Guybrush at this stage. Gilbert pitched the idea of a series of pirate-themed short stories to LucasArts, who liked the idea, but Gilbert was assigned to work on Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, the adventure game, which delayed the project. That was completed in 1989, and he was finally free to work on his pirate game. Working alongside Gilbert were Tim Schafer and Dave Grossman, who as well as programming the game were also responsible for about 2/3 of the dialogue. Steve Purcell was an artist on the game, while Michael Land and Patrick Mundy are credited with composing the fantastic soundtrack. Schafer, of course, went on to create his own classic adventure games such as Day of the Tentacle, Full Throttle, and Grim Fandango. Grossman was one of the founders of the hugely successful Telltale games, while Purcell created the Sam & Max comics and the Hit the Road adventure game that is also very fondly remembered. What was the original inspiration for The Secret of Monkey Island? The truth of the matter is a little hard to pin down. From the Lucasfilm Adventurer, fall 1990. I'd wanted to do a pirate game for a long time. You see, one of my favourite rides in Disneyland is Pirates of the Caribbean. You get on a little boat and it takes you through a pirate adventure, climaxing in a cannon fight between 2 big pirate ships. Your boat keeps you moving through the adventure, but I've always wished I could get off and wander around, learn more about the characters, and find a way onto those pirate ships. From Grumpy Gamer, 2004. I was sorting through some boxes today and I came across my copy of Tim Powers' On Stranger Tides, which I read in the late 80s and was the inspiration for Monkey Island. Some people believe the inspiration for Monkey Island came from Pirates of the Caribbean, probably because I said it several times during interviews. If you read this book, you can really see where Guybrush and LeChuck were derived from, plus the heavy influence of Voodoo in the game. So it's fair to say that the truth is somewhere in the middle. You can definitely see the elements of both in there. In creating The Secret of Monkey Island, Ron Gilbert wanted to avoid certain aspects of adventure games that he found annoying and off-putting. These included cheap deaths, which were something that many of the Sierra games were guilty of, unclear objective, and linear gameplay. One of the things I did to make the story less linear was to add the 3 trials at the start of the game. You have to prove yourself as a pirate by completing these 3 tests, and you can do them in any order that you want. That was done on purpose, so that you don't have to finish Trial 1 before you can try Trial 2. I think it's good design technique to have things as non-linear as possible, but it does make the storytelling 10 times as hard. Gilbert wrote an article for the Journal of Video Game Design detailing all his frustrations with the genre and how we would go about fixing them. Most of these ideas informed the design for Monkey Island. The article can still be found online today and is a fascinating read. You can click on the link on the screen to read it for yourself or find the URL in the comments. Where did the name Guybrush come from? For a long time during development, the main character didn't have a name at all. Steve Purcell, who had been working on the art for the character, saved the file as guy.brush, and it stuck. How was the game received? The game garnered very positive feedback from various journalists at the time. The attention to detail, artwork, puzzles, and the difficulty level were all praised. They also invariably thought the dialogue was hilarious. The only real criticism came from those who thought that the game was too expensive for the length of time it takes to complete, which is actually a fairly common complaint that people had from the adventure game genre. They take a lot of work to make, and making a long adventure game is pretty difficult. Nowadays, The Secret of Monkey Island frequently makes its way into top games lists, and it's very fondly remembered by a great many people. I myself have named it as my favourite game of all time in the past, which is something I probably still agree with. Regardless, it remains a title that I can come back to time and time again, and I cherish the time that I've spent with it. There are loads of great moments in The Secret of Monkey Island. I've decided to focus on just 5. Does your favourite make the cut? Number 5. Negotiating a better deal with Stan. This is actually one of the more annoying parts of the game, and it sticks in the memory for that very reason. Stan is a used boat salesman and has a pushy personality and penchants for patter that personifies that profession. In order to get a good deal on a sea vessel, you need to go through the motions of listening to his pitch for all sorts of optional extras, haggle a bit, and then turn him down. Gradually, you will wear him down to the point where you can actually afford to buy something, with some help from a credit note acquired through unconventional means from the storekeeper in town. Stan already came across as a smarmy individual in the original game, but the addition of voice work in the special edition puts the icing on the cake and really fits the character well. Number 4. The Cannibals. After finally arriving on Monkey Island, you will start finding little notes left around the place between Herman Toothrot, a castaway who has gone a bit strange, and a group of cannibals. You might expect them to be fearsome, savage warriors, but they're actually quite friendly, and are currently watching their fat intake and eating mostly fruit. They do lock you up, sure, but it's easy enough to escape, and if you give them a nice idol, they might help you get ahead. Number 3. The Scum Bar and Meeting the Pirates. This is one of your first ports of call upon starting the game, and is full of colourful characters, from the pirate who will only respond with "I" unless you ask him about Loon, Mancomb Seepgood who pokes fun at your silly name, and the 3 pirate chiefs at the table who lay out your 3 tasks. When you talk to a lot of the characters in here, you are treated to a full hand-drawn portrait of their face, which was mightily impressive upon the game's release, and they still look pretty good now. Number 2. Stealing the Idol of Many Hands. Upon putting the deadly piranha poodles to sleep, no animals were actually harmed in the production of this game. You are able to enter the governor's mansion and attempt to steal the idol. What plays out before your eyes is a truly bizarre scene that pokes fun at how ridiculous some puzzles in adventure games have become by combining random objects like wax lips, a moose, angry midgets and more. It had been a while since I'd seen this part of the game, and its daftness actually made me laugh out loud. Number 1. Insult sword fighting. This, for me, is by far the most memorable part of the entire game. In The Secret of Monkey Island, sword fighting is less about dexterity and fast reflexes, and more about your rapier wit. The aggressor will first toss out an insult, and then it's up to the defender to counter it with a sick burn. If you choose the correct response, then you turn the tables on your opponent, and get to choose the next insult. choosing correctly and you will be on the back foot. The thing is though, you won't know many insults or their responses to begin with, so you will need to go out and fight against random pirates to build up your repertoire. The game will tell you when you probably know enough to be able to go up against the Swordmaster. Between 10 and 12 should do it, though there is an achievement for learning all of them in the special edition. The truly clever part is, when you finally do go and face the Swordmaster, all of her insults are different. The responses you've learned still work against them though, if you can figure out which one goes with which. So not only is it an interesting and unique fighting mechanic, it's also a pretty clever puzzle. What were your favourite Monkey Island moments? Let me know by leaving a comment. In 2009, LucasArts released a special edition of The Secret of Monkey Island. It featured completely redrawn graphics in HD and widescreen, full voice work, including long-standing cast members Dominic Armato as Guybrush and Earl Boen as LeChuck, and fully orchestrated music. Do these changes add or detract from the experience, and is the game underneath still enjoyable? That's what we're about to find out. Aside from the gameplay and the puzzles, this is the major factor that makes The Secret of Monkey Island so special. The game is full of great characters, from the main ones like Guybrush, Elaine and LeChuck, to the supporting cast including the men of low moral fibre, i.e. pirates, and their pet rat, Otis the prisoner, the cannibals, Stan, the shopkeeper and Herman Toothrot. The passion that Guybrush shows towards wanting to be a pirate is infectious, and you will want to help him get there. For the most part, I really like the new artwork from the special edition version of the game. The moonlight over the docks near the Scum Bar is particularly beautiful. The one aspect of the visuals that I'm not that keen on is the style of the characters, and in particular the large portraits that you see when talking to people like the pirates in the bar or the Swordmaster. This is really a matter of personal taste, but I prefer the more realistic style that was used in the original version of the game compared to the more angular, abstract approach that has been taken with the redesign. Of course, you can actually switch between the new graphics and the original graphics on the fly, so if you do prefer one over the other, you can take your pick. LucasArts managed to get the voice actors who first appeared in The Curse of Monkey Island to reprise their roles for these special edition releases, which is great news. Earl Boen, who plays LeChuck, may also be familiar to you as Dr. Silverman from the first 3 Terminator films. While the voice acting is solid across the board, I think his is the standout performance. It's apparent that he really has fun in this role. I also like the remastered music. I'm not sure I prefer it to the original MIDI tunes or to the music that was used for the CD-ROM version. It's all good. The iMuse system that dynamically changes the music based on where you are and who you're talking to wasn't introduced until Monkey Island 2. I'm looking forward to hearing how the new music works with that system though, in particular the wood tick theme. The writing is so well done and so funny that you will always want to exhaust every possible dialogue tree to see where the conversation goes. That there is no penalty for doing so is a masterstroke. At worst the conversation will be ended and you will just have to speak to the person again. There is no death or risk of permanent failure, which frees you up to just experiment and have fun. The puzzles also have a degree of logic to them that wasn't always present in other games of the genre. Much as I love the Discworld games, some of the things that you were expected to do in those games were more than a little absurd. There is nothing that you can't figure out in this game if you really think hard enough, and thoroughly check each area to make sure you aren't missing any important items. Okay, so Monkey Island wasn't the first point-and-click adventure game, but it is an incredibly influential one. The game scores major innovation points just for the introduction of the insult sword fighting alone. Not only is it a clever way to do combat in a puzzle and plot-centric game, it's also a lot of fun. If you read Ron Gilbert's Why Adventure Games Suck article, then you will see the amount of thought that went into tackling the known issues of the genre, such as rewarding players with new characters, areas or story for successfully completing a puzzle or sequence of puzzles. The secret of Monkey Island is actually a pretty short game, especially if you already know what you're doing. You can breeze through the whole thing in about 6 hours if you're familiar with the puzzles and can remember the fine details. If it's your first time or it's been so long you just can't remember everything, then it will take a little bit longer. Don't worry about getting completely stuck though, the game has a pretty good hint system built in. As for price, as this was initially a digital release, you can find it nice and cheap, either via PSN, Xbox Live or Steam, or on a physical disc bundled alongside Monkey Island 2. The Secret of Monkey Island Special Edition is a superb version of an all-time classic game. There are a few very minor things that I would have done differently, granted, but this is still a great package. It's a shame that it didn't occur to LucasArts to add a commentary mode until Monkey Island 2 Special Edition, as I would have loved to play along with the game that started it all and hear what Ron Gilbert, Tim Schafer and others think about it nowadays. Regardless, this Special Edition should be in every fan's collection. That brings us to the end of the very first episode of Monkey Island Mondays then. I really hope you enjoyed it. This really is one of my favourite games of all time, so I want to do it justice. Next time I'll be giving Monkey Island 2 LeChucks Revenge Special Edition the same treatment. Not sure exactly when that will be yet because I need to play through the Special Edition, do my research and come up with a script, but I will try not to leave it too long. In the meantime, take care.